They say in anime, siblings make some of the most important characters. Well, in addition to providing foils to our main characters, they also make some of the best rivals that have their own parallel stories going on. And fight, they often do. Some of the most impactful fights in the medium's history are between siblings, those whose fates seamlessly weave over each other, leading to the moment of that decisive clash. So in today's video, I'll talk about 10 of the most impactful sibling battles in anime. These are some of the best fights in their series, and they either complete or set the stage for a lot more crucial plot developments. Before anything, I'll be leaving a spoiler warning for some of the fights on this list. I think it's just right for an action-packed series like Akame ga Kill to have an impactful sibling fight. Well, a lot of them at least, actually. Akame and Kurome just make the perfect foils for each other, whether it be their appearances or the abilities of their swords. Wielding their swords, both which are tied to the concept of life, the two take to battle in one of the most important scenes in the Akame ga Kill anime. Despite enhancing herself with drugs, Kurome still finds her decisive battle with her sister a close one. Akame's Murasame would come out victorious after an intense struggle. As I said before, the fight has a different ending in the manga, so it might be worth checking out if you want to see a different perspective or a different sequence of events. In 9th place is Inuyasha vs Sesshomaru. You know, the recent news about the return of Inuyasha got me going on a trip down memory lane. When I was young, I always liked the story between Inuyasha and Sesshomaru. Broken down, the feud between the two of them is basically all just about a sword. However, things go much deeper than that, and their multiple on-screen fights are merely pieces leading to the final phase of their character arcs in the series. I think that the most important one among those battles is the one where Sesshomaru receives help from Naraku, you know, the main villain of the series. In his thirst for power, he even goes as far as to accept help from the big bad in order to achieve his one desire. It was a momentous occasion in the anime, but I think it's more important for leading to Sesshomaru's character development. I mean, eventually he lets go of his desire for the Tessaiga and ends up with a sword that I think is even more powerful. All's well that ends well, right? Next we have Natsu vs Zeref at number 8. Okay, I think this one's a bit more spoilerish, but Fairy Tail's been done for quite some time now, so I just assume a lot of people already know by now that Zeref and Natsu are actually brothers. With that dynamic in mind, having the two of them battle it out in part 1 of the double-head of final boss fights in Fairy Tail is all the more poetic. They already have had a previous battle in the final arc, but that's nothing compared to the final, decisive one when they're pretty much both at peak form. It features Natsu releasing his built-up powers and forms along with an appearance by Fairy Heart Zeref. Mavis also gets involved as expected. The two collide in a final clash with Natsu emerging victorious. Having finally found his match, Zeref peacefully departs and leaves the fate of the world to the wizards to decide. After all, the battle's not done, and they still have Acnologia to deal with. Goku vs Raditz finds itself as the number 7 fight on the list. Times when Dragon Ball was a bit simpler to what we ended up with over the course of its run. A key part of early Dragon Ball is the Raditz arc, featuring Goku's brother, who's every bit different from what he is. And I say that in a negative light because Raditz is one of the harsher and more brutal characters in early Dragon Ball. The two would square off in the climax of the arc, but we eventually see that Raditz didn't come alone. He had reinforcements in the form of Piccolo. That would prove instrumental to his death, and it was Piccolo's special beam cannon that would do him in for good. And he was having such a good run against Goku too, wasn't he? This fight is impactful because when you look at it, it would eventually lead to the arrival of Nappa and Vegeta. We all know how important these two characters end up being, and without this fight and how it ended, we probably wouldn't have gotten Goku's top rival into the story. As early as the start of Kill la Kill, I knew that this moment would be one of the defining battles in the entire series. That's why I was surprised to see the big fight between Ryuko and Satsuki take place midway through the show's run. Turns out it was merely a setup for the eventual final villain. The fight itself is one of the best moments in the show, as Trigger's knack for simply being awesome in doing high-octane, over-the-top fights truly shines in their delivery. Overall, this fight is just great, and it gave us the cool moment of Ryuko powering up with Gamui Sengetsu. Gave me chills, that one did. Kill la Kill has a lot of great and chilling moments of awesome, and this is right up there along with the finale featuring Mako reviving the engines in order to help Ryuko. Both of these moments also have the same insert song in the background. Looks like I'm seeing a little pattern here. For our number 5 fight, we have Vash vs Knives. Ah, good old Trigun, how I've missed you. In addition to being a tense fight being siblings, I think that this fight shines because it's ultimately a fight between ideals. This has a lot to do with Knives' backstory, which gets explored even further. It starts out with Knives having the upper hand due to his knowledge of Angel Arm. However, Vash does turn the tides on him, and he was defeated before being taken back to the village. The fight itself isn't bad, and I liked how it was handled. We might have become used to the fireworks of modern anime, but I think this fight's aged pretty well. We don't see a lot of amazing art, and as it's colloquially called, sakuga, but I think that in terms of weight and the importance of conflict, this is one of the top fights in that era of anime. The anime makes Knives' fate unknown, but he does survive the battle in the manga. Given its long run, it's no surprise that Gintama has some of the best fights in anime. This includes, of course, a key sibling fight between Kagura and Kamui that takes place in the Shogun assassination arc. After spending so long looking down on his sister, Kamui finally gets to acknowledge his sibling's abilities after getting a taste of Kagura's mettle. The two fight on, and while Kamui claims that Kagura is still not strong enough, the sister rebuffs that by showing her determination to protect her home from anything, including from her far stronger brother. The fight then gets interrupted. With the interference of Naraku, the two siblings who were out for blood suddenly find themselves fighting alongside each other in a nice little twist. I think that that's a good way to keep the feud going while not giving out the decisive winner just yet. Hyakkimaru's journey has been a long one, and when he meets his brother for the final confrontation, the completion of his quest is at hand. I find it so fitting to have our protagonist's own sibling be the last obstacle in his mission to become whole again. It helps that the burning castle serves as an epic setting to the final fight in the series. The two engage in a long fight that sends them all around the castle in their struggle. As expected, Hyakkimaru comes out on top, but being the nice guy that he is, he spares his brother. Of course, we can't just have an ending like that, can we? So a demon has to come out and make tahomaru sacrifice himself before wrapping Hyakkimaru's quest to become whole in a touching moment. Well, that's the most epic house tour if I've ever seen one. Truly one of the best fights in 2019. While we're at it, why not check that video out too? There are many things to like about Fire Force. Stepping up as one of the newest hits in the world of shonen anime, Fire Force has found its way to the watch list of many fans. A lot of that has to do with the creative powers, the fan service, and most importantly, the cool fights. One such cool fight that I think served really well as the climax of the first part is the battle between Shinra and Sho. I also penciled in this fight as one of the best in 2019, and I still stand by that statement. This battle is intense. It gives us a matchup that we all wanted to see, and I'd say that the animation for this battle ended up being just awesome. If you're talking about top moments in Fire Force period, I'd give this intense sibling fight a serious consideration for the absolute top spot. It's a fight that I think surpasses what we got in the manga, and I think this fight deserves much more recognition in the community. Ultimately, a great sibling fight in a shonen anime completes multiple character arcs in a spectacular show of amazing powers and gripping feelings. That's exactly what Itachi vs Sasuke is. For so long, Sasuke has been driven by his desire for revenge against his brother, and after years and years in real life of teasing the fight, we finally got the confrontation, and boy, it didn't disappoint. The fight shows the two Uchihas go all out, showing off powers we've never seen before in their blaze of glory. Before this fight, we've mostly seen the story from Sasuke's perspective and how he acquired power after power in his bid to finally overcome his brother, yet the battle still proved to be quite even for the most part. Ultimately, Sasuke would emerge victorious, however, his victory wouldn't be met with a lot of celebration. He finally completed his goal, but I'd argue that it was quite the empty victory given his brother's revelations afterwards. It was a truth that overturned Sasuke's understanding of the world, and it helped me to pick this fight as the most impactful sibling battle in anime. So, what do you think of this list? Do you agree or disagree with some of the choices that I put in it? Let me know in the comment section below what you think of this list and what fights you believe should have been included. For now, that's got to be it. I look forward to seeing you in another video soon. We still have a lot of anime to talk about.